Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock. I see DEM is still trying to get themselves situated. I will give you guys about another minute or two, John, until you guys are ready, and then we will get this meeting started.
Billy, this is Shireen. I think we're ready.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you. Good afternoon. Happy New Year's, everyone. This is January 24th, 2023. It is 1300 hours. This is the Nevada Resilience Advisory Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order and have Shireen do a roll call, please.
Dave Filgerson, Billy Samuels,
Present.
Andy Ancho,
Present.
Jason Andrus, Roy Anderson,
Present.
Travis Anderson,
Salome Barton standing in for Chief Anderson.
Noah Boyer,
Present.
Elizabeth Olson, present. James Chrisley,
Present.
Jason Danon,
Here.
Colonel Constant,
Present.
Cassandra Darrow, Bob Denhart,
Present.
Kelly Echeverria,
Present.
Andrea S.,
Present.
Denise Freeman,
Here.
Mike Heidemann,
Present.
Eric Holt,
I'm here.
Graham Kent, Marianne LaFoon,
I am on.
Chris Lake,
Here.
Carolyn Levering,
I'm here.
Ryan Miller, Akeem Patel,
Present.
Tennille Pereira, Matthew Peterson,
On representing Elko.
Ken Quiner,
Here.
Misty Robinson,
Here.
Rachel Skidmore,
Present.
Corey Solferino,
Here.
Rachel Marchetti, Terry Underwood,
Here.
Mike Wilson, Stephanie Woodard, Bunny Bishop,
Present.
Heather Lafferty, Melissa Friend, present. Casey, Sylvie Marks,
Here.
Catherine Nielsen, Samantha Laddick.
Here.
Is there anyone that came on the call late that I didn't call?
Yes, Steph McAfee.
Thank you. Anyone
And
else?
Stephanie Dawes, NP Energy.
Okay. Any voting members? Sorry.
And this is Rachel Marchetti. I'm sorry, I couldn't get myself unmuted in time to let you know I was here.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
You have one, Billy.
And Doug Dame with DBBH.
Thank you. We just need voting members.
Copy that. Thank you. And close out agenda item number 1 and open up 2. This is for public comment. This is discussion only. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Public comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the chair. Comments will not be restricted based on viewpoint. To provide testimony during this period of public comment via telephone, please call in anytime after 12:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting by dialing 1-669-219-2599. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, please enter 686-738-8625 and then press pound or hashtag depending on your generation. When prompted for a participant ID, please press pound or hashtag. When asked to provide public comment, please press *6 to unmute your phone and *6 again when your comments are complete. Please be advised that the YouTube stream will be between 60 to 90 seconds behind the live meeting. If you'd like to present public comment, please call in using the above number to hear the meeting live. And we will have time at the end of towards the end of the agenda that we will have public comment again. Do I have anybody for public comment? Let's start with if we have any written.
Billy, this is Shereen Whipple. There's no written.
Copy that, no written. Do I have anyone for public comment on the phone or even virtual Zoom?
No, we do not. Or not in the Carson City office.
Okay. Anyone else in Zoom world?
This is Kimberly Palmer Ortega for the record. Catherine Nielsen is dealing with a family emergency. She just wanted me to go ahead and put that on record.
Copy that. Did you get that, Shereen?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Billy, this is John Backetall. I got one thing that I'd like to cover, sir.
Please go ahead, John.
So all of you are aware at the last NRAC meeting at the end of last year, we discussed not only general after action reporting, but specifically the COVID after action report, and that it would be made available to this group to review. So it's gone through all of its appropriate DEM committee subsets that we created with having a policy group review the information and then send it to the actual staff members who put together the work product, put it all together and finalize it. Now it's ready to be presented to all of the NRAC members. So we'll have Shereen email this out in the digital form to all of you to review. It is a public record. It's totally fine for it to be made available to the people that need to see it. We are not going to be posting it on our website. It's not meant to lead politics or show blame towards any specific person or agency, but it does have some very candid information on there on things that we could do better. And so for all of us, we need to be aware of that. We need to share it. We need to use it and get better at what we do. So it is publicly available now, and all of the information on the improvement planning process will be available on the exercise dashboard that will be available to members of the emergency management community as well. That's all.
Thanks, John. This is Billy. Hey, just for clarification, you said for review. Is that just for so we can review it? You don't want any input, do you? What do you like for us?
Thank you. So John Backetall, for the record, it is a final report, so it is for your review and use.
Copy that. Thank you for clearing it up. Anyone else for public comment? Well, I'm going to have to say something. I appreciate you guys jumping on. I know you guys like when Chief Ferguson runs this, but he's 0 for the last 2. So I think I'm trying to fill in nicely for him. Obviously there's not a lot of meetings starting the first of the year because there's so many people on. I hope this trend continues throughout the course of this year for the quarters 2, 3, and 4. I love seeing all the people present. So thank you for attending. And I know you guys have a lot to do with your day, but thank you. I appreciate it. And you can let Dave know that Billy just runs a better meeting. But actually don't, because I don't want to keep doing it. I'm going to close that agenda item 2. You will have another chance for public comment at the end of this agenda. Going to go to agenda item 3. This is approval of the minutes. This is discussion and for possible action. The committee will discuss and review the minutes of October 25th, 2022 committee meeting. The committee will determine whether to approve the meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read the meeting minutes that was in your files?
Yes.
Chief Peterson and Elko, I sent some corrections in. I'll move to approve the minutes with corrections from members.
Thanks, Matt. With the first, I hear anyone for a second or any discussion?
Hi, this is Marianne Laffoon. I wrote in to Shereen I was at the last meeting. I was just very quiet.
Did we mark you absent, Marianne? Okay, I see that. Yeah, so with the correction that Marianne would be marked present, that has a first on the table. Do I hear a second?
Bob Denhart, I'll second.
Bob with a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Do I hear any
Aye.
opposed? Oh, any opposed?
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We're going to close out agenda item number 3, and we're going to open up agenda item number 4. This is discussion on the status of the Nevada Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security's efforts to assist our partners. This is for discussion only. John Backadall is interested in hearing feedback on the status of the DEM Homeland Security programs as they relate to protection, preparedness, response, mitigation, and recovery efforts for emergency management and Homeland Security. The NRAC members are encouraged to discuss ways that DEMHS can improve its efforts to better support their needs. For the record, DEMHS is Division of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. And John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is John Backadall for the record. So Chief Overson had asked that we continue to ask for efforts as to how we can do better to assist local government as well as our private partners in all preparedness activities, as well as response coordination, recovery efforts, and the mitigation program. So from this point moving forward, you're going to see this quite often. And the fact that we're going to, one, be sending people out into your environments with the preparedness workshops in the fall. We successfully had those in Eastern, Western, and Southern Nevada last fall, September and October. We're looking to do the same thing at the upcoming fall season this year, as well as the Nevada Emergency Preparedness Association workshop that's coming up in March at UNR. Those are 2 opportunities. We get a chance to bring as many people in front of you as we can, and vice versa. We want to send people out to you. So we have a rural and frontier preparedness coordinator, Brent McLean, that will be out representing all of DEM out into the smaller counties and jurisdictions. But her voice is a conduit for the person that may run that program. So we want you to be aware, you may see someone, please use them as a conduit, but there is plenty of people here at DEM to be your point of contact. We're also developing an organizational chart that you will have everybody's photo, as well as not just their state position, but what their day-to-day position, in other words, what FEMA calls us, so that you have an alignment. If you want to talk to someone that is taking care of hazard mitigation planning, you're going to get the person and have a picture of their face so you know who you're reaching out to, and try to be a little more user-friendly to our customers on the other end. If there's anything else we can do to assist you in what your operations are, just right here at this table with me, we have Bill Elliott, who's our preparedness manager. We have Suze Coyote, who is over all of our grants, both recovery and day-to-day operations manager, and Jared, who's our chief financial officer, Jared Franco. So we want to bring people to the table to help you, and not necessarily us, because we're managing a lot of people. Bring the right person to the table that you can exchange ideas and information with, and hopefully make the Nevada Emergency Management Enterprise a little bit better. So any feedback, please supply that so that we can take that, absorb that, and make things better for all of us.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for John on this topic? John, the only thing, this is Billy, the only thing I have that I'd like to know, I submitted some dates for you, I believe sometime like September. If we can get those dates finalized for all the jurisdictions, I think that would help. We're obviously going to be busy towards the 3rd and 4th quarter this year. So the sooner the better we can get those dates figured out, the more participation we'll have with all of our incorporated cities and the county itself.
So John Backadall for the record again. Billy's referring to those preparedness workshops that we did in the fall. One was hosted in Clark County, one was hosted in Elko County, and one was hosted here in Carson City. We're real close, Billy. Hopefully within a week to 2, we will have those dates locked down. You have competition in Southern Nevada. UNLV has asked if they could host the actual event and not charge us for their room space. So we're looking at, between the exercise schedule that we received from some of your partners in Southern Nevada, to make sure we're not duplicating or complicating efforts like the week before a major exercise or the week of. So we are real close to announcing all three of those, and they will go back to the hosting county to do a final review to make sure that we are not screwing anything up before we move forward.
Perfect, thank you. And if I need to get with, I imagine it's Jeff O's. If that's the case, then I can work with him.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments for John on item number 4?
Billy, this is Mike Heidemann, Churchill County.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to, I guess, congratulate or support the appointment of Bren to that role on behalf of the rurals. I think that's really a good thing to have that central conduit for all of us to have somebody to go to. And I actually have her on my agenda Tuesday for our LEPSI meeting to introduce her to our LEPSI.
Good, yeah, Mike, and I agree with you. I know Clark County isn't not a real big rural area, but we do have some rural areas, and she has fit in very well. So I think it's a great position as well. Thank you for that comment. Anyone else for item 4? All right, hearing none, closing out agenda item 4, going to open up agenda item number 5. This is discussion on the role and purpose of the Office of Cyber Defense and Coordination. This is for discussion only. Aiken Patel, he's administrator of the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination. Mr. Patel will discuss the purpose of the Office of Cyber Defense and Coordination and how it can assist in Nevada. Ken, are you on? Oh, there you go.
Yes, I'm on.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to talk to the group a little bit about the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination. We have our mission statement on the screen there. It's we're here to serve as the primary focal point for cybersecurity strategy, planning, policy, and coordination for all of the entities across the state. Next slide, please. We're starting this by doing a few specific programs. We currently have a bi-weekly Nevada-focused cybersecurity threat intelligence briefing that we're putting out. We are managing the incident response plan repository as per NRS 480-935, where we collect the incident response plans related to cybersecurity for all the political entities across the state, and create a central repository for access for reference by the state, as well as for emergency reference in the case that the political entities have an incident and are not able to get to their own repository. We also do incident response coordination with the governor's office and the Nevada chapters of the National Guard, and we're in that capacity, we're available to help out any entity that does require external help for incident response. Next slide, please. So we plan on starting up a lot of additional services, and we're actually very open to feedback on what would be desired across the board. We're not an oversight authority. We're an advisory and assistance group based on what various groups across the state need. And we understand that will be changing over time. But we'll be looking at starting up coordinated assistance services and resiliency and defense planning services to assist various groups, as well as we're looking at starting up training and ways that we can achieve efficiencies of scale for various cybersecurity programs by working together with multiple entities to large scale purchasing or other projects that will benefit from efficiencies of scale. Next slide. Okay, and this is my contact information. Feel free to reach out. I actually would love to hear from anyone and everyone about what you would see it beneficial as we start ramping up the programs that my office is doing. And I would love to actually have a chance to speak and meet with most of you. And yeah, thank you very much. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Patel? Thank you, sir. A good presentation. I was fortunate I was able to see that one before, so thank you for presenting it again to this group. Moving forward, I know we're going to have some of the cybersecurity issues coming up, or at least some funding coming for the protection of our state. So I'm sure you're going to be busy in the next couple of years, so I appreciate your effort in presenting out on this today.
Thank you.
All right, so hearing no questions, I'm going to close out agenda item 5. We're going to go to agenda item number 6. This is discussion of the bill draft requests, BDR, for the 2023 session. This is discussion only. John Backadal will share the BDR submitted by DEM Homeland Security and solicit input from the NRAC on legislative needs related to emergency management and Homeland Security for the 2023 session. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Billy. John Backadall for the record again. You guys have the attachment number 6, which is a direct cut and paste off of the LCD website. Has all of the bills that mention certain words that we look for on a legislative basis, that not only from the state government, but from the federal government, that we can look to have some awareness. And we still use words like public safety, even though we're in another department, flood, wildfire, all kinds of different words beyond emergency management. So it's like your Google search on steroids to identify anything that we may have some sort of awareness on, or something that could impact us as a community, that we can track and make you aware that there are certain bill drafts out there that you may want to pay attention to. The ones that are highlighted in yellow on attachment 6 are those that specifically mention the words emergency management in them. And then out of that, the AB 43 was submitted by us with the Nevada school superintendent. And that's the change to the date of which school emergency response plans are due to their jurisdiction and to the state. It's pushing it back to August 15th is the big change there at the request of the school emergency managers, because historically it's been due by July 1, which they're not in school in July 1. So they were asking to actually be on the job while their work was due. The next would be Senate Bill 2, SB 2. That is the State Disaster Identification Coordination Committee. Back in the 2019 legislature, we had asked for some changes, and accidentally, they wiped out a lot of the information out of that particular rule that we needed to put back into place out of that statute. So we submitted a bill draft request to have that information put back in there, specifically allowing local emergency management and local responders accessible to certain public health information during a declared disaster. AKA 1 October, having a very hard time getting relevant information, not on general personal public health, but identification purposes, getting names so that we can make awareness to the appropriate people as to where their person may be, or their person might not be around anymore. So it's that type of information. The SDICC itself, there's been no changes made to that committee or any other provisions to that committee. It's just under that particular law, allowing those capabilities to share specific information with emergency management and response agencies. SB 3 was also submitted by DEM. That changes the Homeland Security Commission position to add an employee of DPS to the roster. When we left the Department of Public Safety, DPS, that position went with us. So our chief was that representative. And so we're lacking a very important position by having a member of the Department of Public Safety, State of Nevada on there. So we're asking for that position to be added to that commission. And then the next one DEM submitted was SB 5. That again is specifically about our funding account, our emergency assistance account, and terminology that allows DEM to have access to that money before, during, and after declarations of emergency or declarations of disaster. Those were the ones that we specifically submitted. Some of the others that you see highlighted that mention the words emergency management, I'll tell you 4 out of 5 of them are from legislators or from people of concern over the 3 years of having a state of disaster during COVID. And we have politicians that are looking to submit information on changing the governor's unilateral authority on states of disaster. So they're all different. Some of them have information about going back to the legislature and asking for periods to which we can be under a state of disaster. Some of them are just limiting the control of a single person to declare disaster and how disasters work in the state. We will be paying attention to all these. We will be sending out regular email updates after hearings. you can go to the LCB website. You can type in emergency management. You will get the whole list of bills that have those words in them. And you can track the text as submitted by whoever submitted the bill draft. You can see as it goes through committee, any changes to those bill drafts. And then you can see as things are voted on and approved or kicked out of committee or not approved at the different House levels. And then when things get finalized for the governor's signature. So we will give regular updates on this. That's all I have. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Hey, John, it's Billy. Two questions. One, on the SB 5, the authorizations, the Division of Emergency Management to access emergency assistance account. Are you guys asking for additional funding, or is that funding that's already there that's in your coffer that you just want to more easily accessible?
So I'll read it to you, Billy. This is John Backendall for the record. This goes under section 1 and it's under 3C. We are adding to pay any actual expense incurred by the division for the purpose of emergency management, regardless of whether the expense is incurred during a natural, technological, or man-made emergency or disaster.
Okay,
So it gives us access to pre and post the actual declaration period. Currently, we have to have a signed declaration to access that account.
My question, I think it was relating to more, is that would the local counties or incorporated cities see any funding taken away from them if that was incurred? But it sounds like that's money that you're already going to request from the governor's office himself.
So John Backendall for record, that's correct. The money's already allocated to us. It's set aside for two things: to run our duty officer program, which we consider emergency assistance, to where their overtime is paid by that, and then the activations by a declaration of emergency or disaster. So no funding changes, no impacts to local government.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm sure everyone's appreciative of that. My other question is SB3, and this is, I see you guys actually, it sounds like you put in for the membership of the Nevada Commission on Homeland Security, or did DPS? And obviously is DPS in favor of that?
So John Backendall for the record, DEM submitted this bill draft request and DPS was in favor of it.
Perfect. I think that's a good move. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns for John regarding agenda item? Let me see where I'm at. 6.
John, Matt Peterson. With the bills you've introduced, how does that relate to like Nevada Division of Forestry and the declaration of and use of the Wildfire Protection Fund and moving and support to wildfire operations?
So John Backendall for the record, the only relationship I can apply to NDF is we actually use some of their terminology because they have access to this account during, before, and after wildland fire accounts, their specific emergency account, whereas we did not. So that was the only relationship to NDF. This will not impact your current projects, programs, agreements, and contracts with NDF and their use of their account.
That's it.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for the clarification, John. Anyone else have anything else for John on agenda item 6? Hearing none. Agenda item number 7, cybersecurity task force update. This is discussion only. Tim Robb, Governor Liaison, the committee will hear a briefing on this cybersecurity task force meeting held on January 9th, 2023. Tim, are you on?
I sure am, Billy. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. So Tim Robb for the record. I just want to give a quick overview of what the cybersecurity task force is. Just a reminder to folks. I think most of you are already aware, and I think you've probably heard some things about it. But it was established through an executive order to make sure that we are eligible for federal funding that was made possible through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. In that act, there was about $200 million for federal fiscal 22, with $185 million of that going to the 56 states and territories. Of that, there's about $2.4 million. That's a not to exceed amount for federal fiscal year 22 for Nevada. And within that program, it is a 90-10 cost share with the local governments. That also allows for 20% of the funding coming to the state to be retained by the state for both the administrative piece and then also implementing any cyber strategies that we have that fit within the strategic plan that was established by the task force. That strategic plan just mentioned was submitted to FEMA for review, and we are waiting for a few of those pieces to come together before we can put out the notice of the grant, and that should be coming here pretty soon. The last meeting that we had was more of the utility piece that we want to have within the task force, and that's discussing kind of the capabilities and the programs that exist already. And so you actually already heard about the Office of Cyber Defense and Coordination with Akeem Patel in agenda item number 5, so I won't go too deep into that one. But I would encourage everybody to reach out to Akeem and leverage his expertise and experience and all of the pieces that he brings to the table as you see fit for your organization, and really lean into that because he does have a wealth of knowledge and access to things that should be helpful. Also in that meeting, we had some of our federal partners from the Critical Infrastructure and Cybersecurity Administration provide an overview of their roles, purpose, and vision for how they can support the state of Nevada. They're also a great resource to our state and are actually here in Nevada, so very helpful and an asset to all of us in our preparedness efforts. And then also the Nevada National Guard has quickly stood up a joint task force for cybersecurity. This was just an idea a couple months ago and have worked really quickly and really efficiently to make sure that we're able to get kind of a response team put together within federal assets and then also supported by state funding so that they can touch the resources that they need to under their state active duty roles. And then also the Division of Emergency Management gave an overview of their consequence management component and how they will plug into a cyber event to make sure that people are taken care of and needs are met and the coordination is there as well. The Division of Emergency Management has also leaned forward pretty heavily in the cyberspace, which is incredible and very great to have them at the table to make sure that we're working together and know the capabilities of all the pieces that come together for a possible cyber attack in Nevada. So some of the big takeaways is just lean into that Office of Cyber Defense and Coordination, really use them as the asset that they are. They will be very helpful going forward. And then also just the amazing partnerships we have across the state. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration and cooperation in how we're addressing cybersecurity in Nevada. And so want to use that task force as one of those venues to make sure that we're having those discussions and learning from each other, learning from the good, the bad, anything that may be helpful for another jurisdiction in their cyber preparedness. And then also just kind of understanding some of that federal money. A lot of information is still forthcoming on how that will be administered, but just want to have that as part of this discussion as well. So with that, I think that's it for me. You guys have a lot on your agenda, so don't want to go too deep, but available for any questions.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate you heading that task force up. I'm glad you volunteered for that. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Tim? Hearing none, thank you for your report. Closing out agenda item 7, we're going to open up agenda item number 8. This is the Threat and Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment, THIRA, Stakeholders Preparedness Report, SPR. This is for discussion only. Bill Elliott from DEM HS. Mr. Elliott will present to the committee the results of the annual THIRA and the corresponding SPR. Bill, you on?
Hello, this is Bill Elliott for the record. We went through the THIRA SPR process in our 3 regional workshops. During that time, one of the biggest things that we came out with is affordable increase in investment over loss capabilities. So we are doing something very good in doing this. Now, the THIRA and SPR, they are many hundreds of pages. So what we've done is distill them down to about 12 pages. If anybody wants to get a copy of the state's THIRA and SPR, we're more than happy to give them to you. And God bless you for reading it all, because it can be kind of tedious. So what we did was use a THIRA SPR process. And how we did that is to identify the threats and hazards that we had that were main threats and hazards for the state. We established target capability targets for each of the 32 core capabilities. We defined those capabilities on how we would be able to accomplish those capabilities. And we identified core capability gaps and priorities. Some of the things that we learned in the results were overall results is we don't have the money that we get through funding to make large gap reductions when it comes to organization or equipment. So we focused on planning, training, and exercise to reduce those gaps. Like I said, increases in capabilities have far outstripped the losses in statewide gaps. COVID, as well as low rate wages, have greatly diminished our professional services such as law enforcement, EMS, emergency management, hazmat. So we have identified 3 priority areas for this year: operational coordination, operational communication, and supply chain security and integrity. Over the last 3 years, we've had many different priorities, including logistics, supply chain management in 2020, energy and economic recovery. In 2021, we had logistics, supply chain management, disaster housing, and resilient communication. And in 2022, we had cyber effect, fatality management, and health and human services. As you can see, logistics and supply chain management has come up several times, and we've been making great strides in reducing those gaps, but gaps still remain. So the threats and hazards that we've identified that were our main concern were earthquakes, active assailants, wildfire, hazard material accidents, flooding in northern Nevada, and cyber attacks. I'm not going to go over all of the core capabilities, but I wanted to highlight in page 4 through 12 some of the core capabilities that we've seen where there are greater increases for declining results and increases in our capabilities in the past year. So some of them, operational coordination is one of the ones that we're in danger of declining in 2023. Community resilience was one of our core capabilities that we looked at to highlight in previous years, and they're one of the core capabilities that we've had most progress in. Fire management and suppression is one of the 3 capabilities we're in danger of declining, mainly due to difficulty in hiring and maintaining staff. Mass care services, shelter and commodities is one of the 3 that we've had the most progress. On-scene security is one that we've seen decline in the past year, especially due to COVID. Operational communication is also one that we see a negative trend identified in all areas. And one that is kind of confusing is that we've had increases in public health, healthcare, and EMS, but it's also one of the three core capabilities where there's the most danger in decline. So that is my report for the THIRA. Once again, this is Bill Elliott for the record. And if you want the full report or the expanded executive summaries, I'd be more than happy to send that to you. And I'll take your questions on this.
Bill, this is Jeannie Freeman for the record. I wanted to say thank you for this report. We'll be reaching out to you between this and the FEMA preparedness report, and then what will come out for public health as far as our grants for the next 5-year cooperative agreement, trying to align these things and trying to figure out what we can do, not only for our region, but then statewide, some of the aspects that the ESF 8 can be addressing could be really important, even in areas that don't traditionally look like an ESF 8 area, but could have ties, could be really valuable. So don't be surprised if we reach out and have some conversations with you and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're thinking. Does this align with what you all are looking at? That could be really helpful for us. So I want to say thank you so much.
This is Bill Elliott for the record. I'd be happy to talk with you about it and send you those THIRA. And more importantly, being able to translate it, because there are some tricks to translating the THIRA and the SPR. And one of the things that what we're seeing in the new trend is that the EPG grants and the federal grants are going to be increasingly tied to the THIRA SPR.
We are not sure.
Thanks, Bill, and good comments, Jeannie. I wouldn't think you guys would reach out. Carolyn, your hand was up before Andrea's. Why don't you go first, please?
Okay, all I was going to say is thanks, Bill, for that brief report. And could you send me, I know I don't know what I'm asking for here, but send me the full reports, because Jeannie, I do want to make sure that whatever I plan is aligned with what the state plans are. So if you could please send those to me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So this is Bill Elliott for the record. I'm going to send the EMs the expanded executive summary, which has a lot more information. And then after reading that, if you have any more questions or want the full report, I'll send you the full THIRA and the full SPR.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate that. I hope you guys have a Dropbox, because those documents are so long, you might need that. It might not go over your regular Outlook. So Andrea, you're up next, please.
I also wanted to say thank you for the update on the report, and just echo what Jeannie Freeman had said. We were going to be going into a new 5-year planning period for public health and emergency preparedness. And I really want to see increased collaboration with public health and DEM. I know you guys already do a lot, but I think there's a lot more we can do. And I think there's non-traditional areas that we can both benefit from. And I already sent your report off to my staff, and I would be reaching out asking for the full report as well, so that we are planning with the full picture in mind.
Hey, Billy, this is John Backadall. So Andrea and Jeannie are both on here. I don't know that we have Southern Nevada Health District present. And then DT is a big proponent of this over at State Health. The more we
I'm here. This is Misty.
Thank you, Misty. The more we can keep you guys engaged and get more engaged through that JRA process and combining our efforts so that we're impacting you less, and yet you're still getting everything you need. That's the vision of this for the future. And Bill is going to be working hard on that to make sure those workshops and any other time you guys need from us, that we can facilitate for exactly what you're asking for, the same information for the same purposes, just to 2 different agencies.
Perfect. Thanks, Sean, for including all the health districts on that and the health departments themselves.
Yeah, this is Misty Robinson for the record, and I will echo Andrea and Jeannie. So Bill will be reaching out to you.
Thank you, Misty. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns for Bill Elliott? I am hearing none. I'm going to close out agenda item 8 and open up agenda item number 9. This is election integrity in Nevada. This is for discussion only. John Backadol from DEM-HS. The committee will be briefed on the efforts Nevada undertook to support election integrity throughout Nevada. John?
Everybody, John Backadol for the record. We spoke about this at the last meeting, where we're at, what we were doing to help support the Secretary of State's office and Mark Galashin, who is going to be available on this call as well to assist. So we did do a series of events leading up to this past 2022 election, not only for the election security, but the election integrity and the peace of mind of people, similar to what Governor Lombardo said in his State of the State last night. The more we can do to support that agency and make Nevadans feel as though what we're doing is secure and appropriate for the steps moving forward. So we undertook a series of briefs, not only from the Secretary of State's office, but also secret briefs from the Department of Homeland Security held here in the SCIF, and went through a number of different scenarios. They gave us information on what could and what they don't think would happen, what they think might happen from different groups across the country. We then took on several training classes as well as exercises within the Nevada Operations Center. We had a very small invited group to participate in these because they were last minute put together going into the actual election series. We had 3 different tabletops, one for an active assailant event, one for a bomb threat, and one for a loss of power regionally. And what is the Secretary of State, as well as the local county clerks and the supporting agencies, going to do to make sure people get to vote? And so we went through different scenarios and briefings and exercises to try and define our gaps and what would our priorities be. We learned a lot from those. Specifically, in most of these instances, everything at that scenario is going to be a crime scene. And now everything's tied up and we don't have access to the machines, to the information. So how are we going to overcome that? And so the Secretary of State was working with the AG's office on that type of follow-up information. So from there, we went ahead and did the election cycle and then did some follow-ups with the Secretary of State's office to find out what went right and what did wrong. And we did that through a policy group. So a group from my boss, Dave Fogerson, with the Secretary of State's office, with the DPS director, with a couple other agencies that would have specific buy-in to this event and could help guide emergency management into what are we going to do to overcome this, and then apply it to either the state or local level, giving them some high-level goals that they could apply tactics and objectives to. So moving forward, we've gotten together with the Secretary of State's office as well as the Department of Homeland Security. And inside of our multi-year exercise schedule, we've put together on August of 2023 this year, we're going to have an election security lessons learned brief, not only from the Secretary of State, but as well as our federal partners, give us some high-level things that did happen across the country, things that happened in Nevada, and how did we overcome them? What did we not overcome? What issues do we still have? In October of 2023, we're going to have another tabletop here at DEM. We're going to invite everybody to that, including your election clerks. So it will be offered remotely for people to participate and give feedback and information. We want that to be a very comprehensive kickoff to that exercise cycle. In April of 2024, we're going to put together a functional exercise for election security and make sure that we're dealing with the issues that have been brought up in the last year. Then as we go into 2024, in August of 2024, we will schedule an election brief from our Secretary of State's office on top of all the other things that are going on with the emergency managers, with those county clerks, so that we're all hearing the same thing at the same time. Get us all on the same page, and then we have that opportunity to ask questions because we built up a lot for a mid-year. We can only imagine what the 2024 presidential election is going to look like. So we're doing what we can to try and build this up. Mark Galashin, are you available on the phone?
Yes, sir, I am.
I'll turn it over to you if you want to add some additional information for us from Secretary of State's office.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Mark Velashin, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections for the record. In addition to the things that John just mentioned, we have an additional opportunity that has just emerged here somewhat unexpectedly There's going to be a special election. And really, there's two parts to this that I want to bring everyone's attention to. First and foremost, again, a special election that's going on, that's coming up here soon in April in the city of Henderson, to make sure that everybody's aware of it. So that, again, everyone from, across the ESFs and really just the collective group, so that you're aware of the timelines associated with this special election. A little bit of review on ongoings on and around or in and around the city of Henderson. Don't reveal too many conflicting events, but I'd rather just put it on everybody's radar. So the election day for this special election, and it will be going in the city of Henderson, specifically Ward 1, just to replace the city councilman in that position. Election day is April 4th of 2023. Also of note, mail ballots will hit the mail stream. That first dump will occur on March 6th, when ballots will be sent from the vendor out to voters, with additional mail drops of additional ballots to in-state voters really through the rest of March. Early voting is a shortened period given the nature of a special election. The early voting period will begin on March 28th and end on March 30th. Again, with election day being April 3rd. So again, in addition to that election that's coming up, we also, the city clerk has reached out, and Louis had asked if we could arrange in conjunction with their emergency manager to do a TTX relating specifically to that special election. This is, I think, something that we are going to identify and try to capitalize on, not only as an opportunity for the city of Henderson, but also again, really is a best practice, so that I would like to incorporate into all future election cycles. Even a special election is coming up for just one jurisdiction, again, we should be thinking through what could happen and making sure that collectively we're prepared and all on the same page regarding the timeline. The date specifically for that TTX is still to be determined, but it is something that we've started collaborating with to make sure that, again, the appropriate individuals and groups can be involved as necessary. But pending questions, that's all I have for right now.
Thank you for that report, Mark. This is Billy Samuels. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that tabletop, so I'll get with their EM or John Backadol, if you guys are working with him as well on DEM from the state. As the county, we would like to know what's going on. I'm sure LVPD and the Fusion Center might also have some play in that as well. So
absolutely, they only had just reached out the other day, so it was very much in its infancy, but absolutely intended to get the county involved as well, because again, a holistic approach to it, certainly.
Appreciate
Billy,
it.
this is John Backadol. So we did talk to Brad this holiday season when we were down there visiting for other reasons. And he had let us know that he was wanting to use the tabletop information that we shared with all of you guys. And so we would ask, Billy, that when you do work with him, if we could facilitate that for you so all of you guys can play and you're not missing out on people. We have plenty of people here that are master exercise practitioners that can facilitate exercises. And I think it's a good opportunity to take advantage of partners to be your facilitators, so all of Southern Nevada can play and support.
Perfect. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
And also along those lines, the next special election that we anticipate coming up may possibly be in Nye County. And again, I think, just like John is saying, that may enable us to then shift our focus over to Nye County and do something similar again from a statewide perspective. But I very much look forward to the TTX and the collaboration.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark or John regarding election integrity?
Noah Boyer for the record.
Go ahead, Noah.
John, more of a question. When we look at the election cycle and like the last couple of years, or at least for the last 5 years, we've always stood up bomb techs for the election day, if you will. And we start with sweeps in the morning, and we have that asset available. And I think that sometimes we have this asset available. We have the capability to respond Northern Nevada to assist where needed. And I think sometimes the message from the local side of it doesn't make it to the state side of it, as far as, hey, if something happens in Fernley, Fallon, Winnemucca, or those types of areas where that asset is needed, we have the ability to respond. But I think sometimes it doesn't make it to the state level, as far as like, hey, we have this asset available. What is the best way to kind of get that message pushed out? Through Kelly, or reaching out to DEM to let you know that we're staffed that day, or what's kind of the best venue?
So John Backendall for the record, you're both a county resource as well as a regional resource because of the way the consolidated bomb squad works. So I would never say overstep Kelly. By all means, please work with her. But you just made your voice known, so we'll make sure you're invited to the trainings and the tabletops on the regional approach. We'll get all 4 of the consolidated teams so that they're able and willing and understand what we're exercising, and you can give us some very specific input, because you're always going to be one of our scenarios because of everything that's available to cause that type of situation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we always are available. Just on those particular days, we're more available, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. Anyone else for John or Mark? Hearing none, I'm going to close out agenda item number 9 and go to agenda item 10. This is Nevada Task Force 1 and the Urban Search and Rescue USAR team. This is for discussion only. Kenyon Levitt, the program manager, will present to the committee the Nevada Task Force 1 capabilities and the history of this FEMA program and their past deployments. Kenyon, are you on?
Yes.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Kenyon Levitt for the record. Just a quick overview of the history of the National Urban Search and Rescue System. You go to the next slide, please. In 1989, after the earthquake in San Francisco, the federal government realized that they didn't really have any resources to take care of natural disasters or man-made disasters when it came to structural collapse or in urban areas. After 2 years, the next slide, please. After 2 years of planning and getting with the fire service and the federal officials, they came up with this urban search and rescue system. Next slide. The initial system was set up with 25 teams throughout the nation. Nevada was one of those initial 25 teams. You can see there from this slide kind of what the skill set is. 28 teams or 25 teams complete with necessary tools, equipment, requisite skills and techniques that can deploy for FEMA to assist state, local government, and local governments in rescuing survivors in structural collapse incidents or to assist in other search and rescue missions. Next slide. As I said, Nevada was one of the initial 25 teams. As you can see this slide here, this was at Hurricane Katrina. And we'll talk about that just a little bit later in the presentation. Next slide. Just a list of the original 25 teams that were picked throughout the country. You can see California has 8 teams originally and still 8 teams. East Coast, West Coast were pretty heavily supported there in these teams. Central Division, which we are part of, a little bit lax. Next slide. So Ohio and Missouri was added in 1997. And then next slide. In 98, Texas Task Force 1 was added, which brought the teams up to 28. Next slide. In 2016, because New Mexico was unable to staff a team on a regular basis, they lost their team. And that opening was given to New Jersey, which once again makes up the 28 teams. Next slide. Nevada Task Force 1 is made up from 6 fire departments here in the Clark County area. Clark County Fire Department is a sponsoring agency for Nevada Task Force 1. Each task force throughout the country has a sponsoring agency. Not all fire departments, but a big majority of them are. You can see the breakup there on this slide of where the personnel come from for the team. We also have a number of civilians that are on our team, our doctors, our structural engineers, our heavy riggers, just to name a few. Some of our canine handlers are also civilians. So we have a wide variety of people with different skill sets. Next slide, please. Here's the different specialties within the task force. And I'll just read through them real quick. Task force leader, safety officer, plans, tech info, search, which is technical search and canine search. And canines also, we have live find and cadaver. Medical specialists. With the medical specialists, we take with us on a type 1 deployment 2 full-time ER doctors. Logistics, structural specialists. We have on a type 1 deployment also, we take 2 structural engineers that are highly trained in structural collapse and in all things structure. Heavy riggers. Our heavy riggers are full-time heavy equipment operators that work with cranes and with heavy equipment. So very highly prepared for that area. Hazard material specialists. We pull all our hazmat techs from the different departments here with hazmat teams. We also have some from the test site as well that are on our team. Even though the test site is not a participating agency, we have a number of their hazmat techs that are on our team with us as well. Rescue specialists, comm specialists. Comm specialists is some more of our civilians. Because we are required to be fully self-sufficient for 72 hours. Comms is one of those areas that we take with us to make sure that we are able to have satellite internet, radios, telephones, all that good stuff. Truck drivers, because we move most of our equipment, well, all of our equipment by land. We also have air capabilities, but most of the time we travel across the country by truck. So we have our own truck drivers. And then a mechanic. You'll see the mechanic is asterisk, has an asterisk by it. That is not one of the spots that is designated in a type 1 team. However, we always request that from FEMA going out the door if we can take our own mechanic with us, and they haven't turned us down yet, so we're going to continue to ask for that. Next slide, please. Just once again, one of the original 25 teams, we are able to deploy in multiple configurations, type 1, type 3, MRPs, and single resource configuration. Next slide. Some of the deployments that we've been on, starting with World Trade Centers in September 11th, right on through till last year with Hurricane Ian. As you can see, we've deployed as type 1, type 3, MRPs, and single resources throughout the country. Next slide. As most of you may know, Type 1 team is 70 members. And they, once again, especially in search, rescue, medicine, hazardous materials, logistics, planning, and technical specialists, physicians, structural engineers, and canine search. When this whole thing, when search and rescue started, as I said, it was for earthquakes. When we deployed to Hurricane Katrina, we showed up with all kinds of structural collapse equipment, but no boats. So we were kind of stranded for a few days till they got some boats lined up for us. There wasn't enough, I'm here to tell you. So since then, FEMA has come down and added a water resource part of our team. So we have 6 boats and 28 water rescue specialists, both that are both boat operators and swift water rescue specialists on the team. 70-member team Type 1, 35-member Type 2, so just half. That's also made up that we can split our team in half and work 24-hour shifts if needs be. Next slide. Just some of the capabilities of the task force. You can see there. Goes along with that urban search and rescue that we've talked about. Next slide. As I said, FEMA added water operations. They say that we have to have 14 members on each Type 1 team. Nevada Task Force 1, we try to have 28 of the 70 available. It doesn't always happen, but we like to be over prepared, especially when it comes to water, the water resource part of it. Next slide. And how is the task force deployed? Disaster response is locally executed. It starts with that first 911 call and then grows from there as be it the fire department or shows up on scene and realizes that they cannot handle the situation. It escalates from there. When Nevada Task Force 1 is deployed, it has to come from the president, but it comes through starting at the local level, going up to the state level, and then on to federal level. And so usually we are, if it's a natural disaster that's not a hurricane that we're not aware of beforehand, we're usually a little bit behind schedule when we get out the door. When we are activated, we have 4 hours to be on the road to anywhere in the United States, continental United States. If we are flying, we have 6 hours to be in the air. Next slide. I think that's it. Any questions or concerns? Be more than willing to answer.
Thanks, Kenya. I appreciate you presenting on this. I don't know if some of the northern partners know the capabilities of what's currently in their state, so I appreciate you expanding upon that. And if they have any questions, they can always reach out through me or you. Do we have any questions?
Noah Boyer again for the record. I just want to go back on one of their deployments. They had listed was Argenta Hall, and that structural engineer they sent us was an absolute valuable or invaluable asset to us to make sure that when we did our part of it that we were safe, and we couldn't have done it without that.
Yeah, Joe Farre is the one we sent up there. He is renowned throughout the United States when it comes to structural collapse. He is one of those that does most of the implosions throughout the United States. So he is well aware of what to look for and how to know if that building is going to move or if it is moving. And and if it's safe to go in. And yeah, we're glad that you guys called and we're able to send them up there.
It was much appreciated.
Anytime.
Thanks, Noah. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Kenyon?
Billy and Kenyon, Matt Peterson in Elko County. I love that the state is able to host this and that you guys have such a good reputation over time. Is there an avenue, a way, or a training that can be brought to rural areas if we have some structural collapse, we have a major disaster, something that would require support from the scene of how we could make sure that we're setting that team up for success from initiation of the incident to when we receive the support? Is there avenues to have that training brought to the rural areas so that we know the capabilities, we get to meet the team, work hand in hand and put faces to names?
Yeah, Matt, Kenyon, I'll answer that one for you. I have spoken a lot with Chief Ferguson on the capabilities on any type of training that's occurring up in Northern Nevada that I didn't really want California teams come over and doing some of that training with those Northern partners, nor do I want Utah Task Force 1 coming over to you and giving those assets as well. I would always entertain you coming through my office. Task Force 1 sits under Clark County's Office of Emergency Management, and we can coordinate some of that training to show the capabilities. But Kenyon is fully aware that one of the things that I would like is always to help our community and state partners first before we ask for assistance from any other state. So if you have anything specific, Matt, please get with me and we will work that through.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that goes for all representatives on this call for you guys. Anything else for Kenyon? All right, hearing none. Thanks, Kenyon. Appreciate your time. Closing out agenda item 10, we're going to open up agenda item number 11. This is DEMHS Federal Emergency Management Agency audit results for the federal fiscal year, years 22 and 23. This is discussion only. Jared Franco is going to lead this. The committee will receive a briefing on various audits that DEMHS has undergone related to COVID-19, Homeland Security Grant Program, and Emergency Management Performance Grant. Jared, you on?
Here, Chief.
Thank you. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, committee members and guests. Last NRAC meeting in October, I gave a brief about a slew of different audits that DEM has gone through, all resulting in nothing but praise for our grant staff. If you would like to go over those audits that I briefed, they are in the last meeting minutes. On October 25th, 2022. Since October 25th, 2022, DEM has already been pulled into 2 more audits. The first one started last week, and it's run by I. Bailey, which is the state of Nevada contracted audit firm. They requested documents to go over the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery. We don't have much else information about that, but we will keep you all apprised. The next one, it will be starting next week. We have an opening conference with the Nevada's Executive Audit Branch, who falls under our GFO, our Governor's Finance Office. That's about all the information we have about that audit. It'll be starting next week. We're not sure what programs they're looking into or what documents they're going to want us to pull for them. But we will have more information next meeting. And with that, pending any questions, that's all I have, Chief.
Thanks, Jared. Appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Jared? Hearing none, thank you, sir. Closing out agenda item 11, we're going to open up agenda item 12. This is the grant status report. This is for discussion only. Suze Coyote from DEMHS and Jared will lead this one. We will receive quarterly grant reports, which will outline the spending status on Emergency Management Preparedness Performance Grant, EMPG, and the Homeland Security Grant Program, HSGP, and Emergency Preparedness Working Group Grant, EPWG. The committee will also be briefed on the late status of reporting of current grants. Suze, are you going to take this?
Yes, I am. Hi, Suze Coyote for the record. The grant status, as Billy described, is attached in the meeting materials. All grant programs with open subawards are listed in the report. It shows the subrecipient, agency, project, original award amount, reobligated funds received, amount spent as of the last report, the funding stream or grant, and any deobligated amount, and the percentage of the awards spent as of the last report received. The federal reporting narratives for the Homeland Security Grant Program and the Nonprofit Security Grant Program are attached, which provide program updates for those programs as of September 30th, 22. And the FY22 Emergency Preparedness Working Group grant application has been released in Zoom Grants, and applicants can complete their application so we can award those grants. And it's just the 6 counties. It's not open to, it's not open widely. It's just the ones who've received it before. And I am, the late reporting also is in there. The late reporting as of 12/31/22 is included with this agenda item as well. And Jared will brief on the policy and the report. And before that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the other grants reports.
Does anyone have any questions for Suze on that part? Jared, you're going to report out too, correct?
Yeah, correct, Chief.
Okay, let's start with anyone have any questions for Suze first? All right, hearing none. Jared, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Jared Franco for the record. As Sue stated, the very last page of the meeting material attached to agenda item number 12 is a list of grants and their missing reports. And what we're talking about missing reports is their quarterly progress and quarterly financial report. Memo was sent out a couple weeks ago in regards to the updated policy about these reports. We honestly have not been doing a great job on both sides of the house about ensuring that these reports are submitted in a timely manner, which negatively affects everybody. Two of the biggest reasons why it affects us is that on our side, my staff's workload is not consistent and very sporadic, as they come in all over the board or don't come in at all. One of the biggest reasons is we are unable to get a accurate and timely account of the DOBs for each grant year, which may result in us having to send money back to the feds and not back out to the jurisdictions to help fund those projects that were passed in the previous meetings. I understand all of our lives are extremely busy and we're swamped with work. So what we're going to try, or what we are going to do on our side, is start sending out reminders. The first reminder being the day before the reports are due, and those reminders will come directly from Zoom grants to the subrecipient and whoever's on that grant. And then the second reminder will go to them 10 days after the report is late. That will also go to the subrecipients that are attached to that grant. Now, after the 10 days, the next reminder is going to be 30 days, which is going to be a letter from myself as a CFO addressed to not only the people that signed for the grant, but also their supervisors or program managers, letting them know that these reports are due and we need to a little bit about what the repercussions will be if it's not turned in a timely manner. The next one will be a 60-day letter sent to the subrecipient and program managers from the state administrative agent, Dave Fogerson, which will address that if this issue is not remedied immediately, the process of administratively deobbing the grant will happen. That's not something that we want to happen. I have anxiety even saying it out loud, but it's something that we need to do in order to ensure that we're not only being compliant in the grant, but we have an accurate account of the funds that we have, so nothing gets sent back to the feds. You know, in the past, just since I've been here in the past year now, we've taken on 3 more grants worth multi-million dollars with the same amount of people. So that's, you know, almost doubling the work with the same amount of people. So it's becoming a bigger responsibility that we need help on both sides of the house to do. So if anyone has any questions, you can please feel free to reach out to me, or you know, if there's something we can clear up right now, that's all I have, Chief.
Thanks, Jared. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Jared, or any more if they thought everything about what Sue said? Carolyn, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for all the great details on the quarterly grants spanning back to 2019. I noticed all the 2019 SHSP and UASI awards. Anything that wasn't spent appears to have been automatically deobligated. My question for you is, are we going to do the same with 2020? Because I think that closed September of 22. Or are you still entertaining extensions for those projects?
So this report will have all of the open grants and the late reporting. So this is a work in progress, and we won't submit anything that is, or we won't put out anything that's inaccurate. So was sent out this time is what we have that is 100% accurate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't debate the accuracy. My question is, are the Homeland Security Grant Project awards for 2020 going to be extended? Because they're not showing as deobligated yet on this report.
Oh, okay. So I guess we'd have to look at what the performance period was for 20.
Yeah, the original awards, I think, expired in September of last year. I know at least one of our projects got extended to June, but I didn't know if the other projects qualified.
So that's it's a case-by-case basis, ma'am.
Okay.
We try our best to ensure that you guys are staying within your performance period, so that leaves our staff enough time to be able to close out the grants and do all the administrative work on the back end. But it is still open, and we are still looking at extension.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I think I had a project manager who was concerned they failed to ask for an extension before September ended, and they were concerned that they wouldn't have an opportunity.
Yeah, we'll always work with you and do whatever we can. We just want to be reciprocated on both.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Carolyn, for your comments and good question as well. Anyone else have questions for Jared or Suze? Hearing none. Jared, I know I can't speak for everybody on this call, but like you, all these counties and corporations, we don't like giving back any money. I have a threshold of $0.25 that I will deob without throwing a fit. So we're trying to refine some of our processes as well down here in Clark to make it smoother for you guys as well. And so we understand that we need grace on both sides. And so we do appreciate that, your guys' office and mine as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, I'm going to close out agenda item 12 and open up agenda item 13. This is public comment. This is discussion only. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Public comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the chair or vice chair on this matter. Comments will not be restricted based on viewpoint. To provide testimony during this period of public comment via telephone, please call in any time after 12:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting by dialing 1-669-219-2599. When prompted for the meeting ID, enter 686-738-8625 and then press pound. When prompted for ID, please press pound. Unmute yourself, *6, and then when you're done speaking, *6 again to mute yourself after your comments are complete. Please be advised that YouTube stream will be 60 to 90 seconds behind the live meeting. If you'd like to present public comment, please call in using the above number to hear the meeting live. I will first start with DEM. Has anyone else submitted any written comments?
No, Billy, this is Shereen Whipple for the record.
Copy that. No written comments. Do I have any one in Zoom world on this call that would like to have any public comment? I'm hearing none. Has anyone called in via YouTube or via actually a telephone?
Billy, this is Shereen Whipple for the record. No one has called in.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Billy?
Thank you very much.
Billy.
Brad
Billy,
Iverson.
this is Brad.
Brad Iverson.
Yeah, City of Henderson. This is heading on out, but I just wanted to let you and Mark and John know that I have an email that I'm going to be sending you regarding the special election. So you look for that. We'll discuss it offline. Thank you.
Copy that. Thank you, Bradley. Copy that. Thank you, Bradley. Anyone else with public comment? Hearing none, going to close out agenda item 13, and this is agenda item 14. This is for adjournment. This is for discussion and it's possible action. Do I have anybody who would like to adjourn this meeting? I'd like to hear a motion.
This is Andrea Asp. I motion to adjourn.
Andrea with the first. Do I hear a second?
Jeannie Freeman for a second.
Jeannie Freeman, a whole bunch of group of people saying for the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposed? Any discussion? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. You guys have an amazing day. We'll see you guys next quarter. And like always, be safe and be happy.